Hi, this is Carolyn James from Holistic Campus, and I'm here today with Rudi Riekstins. And he's a founding practitioner with us, and he's a business and life coach. Welcome, Rudi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. And again, thank you for the platform. It's an incredible opportunity to be represented here with you.
Oh, and we're so happy to have you here with us. So, very interesting story how you came to be with the life coaching and whatnot. But could you tell us a little bit about what actually that means to you, business and life coach?
Well, I'm a big believer that everybody can truly have, be, and do and achieve absolutely anything in life. And not necessarily all of us were given those tools on the onset. And that all starts from your childhood to what your belief systems are, and then to the very environment that you find yourself in today. And so for me, it has very much become a life's work to be able to help empower and inspire those people to be the true fullest potential of themselves. And not many people know that they can and have everything within them that it takes to be successful in what they deem successful to be, abundant in life and love and in business. And so it's really, for me, what I thoroughly enjoy. Not many people get to wake up every day and thoroughly enjoy what they do. And for me, it's making a difference in people's lives and seeing that little light bulb go off and then watching people's lives transform around me.
And it's such a powerful thing for them too. And to think the fact that you get to empower them, what a beautiful thing to do every day, as you say.
I feel like it's a two-way street, because as they feel empowered, I'm inspired and empowered through them. So it is very much a give and take. But yes, to answer it, I'm absolutely blessed to be able to share this.
Ah, that's beautiful. So I know you also do some public speaking, which is, or keynote speaking, which is really interesting as well. Is that within the same realm?
It is. A lot of my work is done, whether it is done individually, one-on-one, with whether it be just a person that's working through and looking for life coaching work, or whether it's the CEO of an organization that is wanting to change the way that they operate, change the culture within an organization, or it can actually be in large groups where we would be able to go and impact, tens of thousands of people at a time to tens of people at a time. The topics is really much dictated by the company that's bringing me in. We can go really deep, or we can be light and more motivational. A lot of the work I do is very much timed to similar themes. And then, I will obviously use that platform to dig as deep as the group. And so it's also very interactive, the keynote side of what I do. And so I can gauge by the audience deeper based on the actual environment that we're in. Not all of the business leaders necessarily know their employees to that degree. And so we do feed off of the individual groups. And I would say it's very much motivational keynote speaking, but a very strong sense of personal self, personal growth, and really tying in the spiritual into not necessarily just in business, but who you are. And it's the marriaging, if you will, of those two worlds.
Which I know we've had this conversation. I think it's incredibly important. Now, do you think that more and more businesses are opening up to this? Have you seen an increase in that over the years?
We're definitely seeing a trend of businesses that are starting to move more into a spiritual, like-minded platform where they're showing a lot more value in the individual employees, giving them purpose, not just in a job. You need to produce X amount in the number of hours that you're here, but more making them feel like they have got more to do with the business than just clocking in and clocking out, and investing in the well-being of their employees, the growth of their employees, and also bringing in a level of spiritualism into business. We're finding industries that tell their staff when they're working to infuse love into the product that they are making, or to bless everything that they're doing. We're finding those businesses are achieving, resounding success. We have, billion-dollar companies popping up all over. And I could give examples, but what they've done is really change the mindset. And so rather than somebody, as an example, manufacturing just jewelry like this Alex and Ani, which is a bangle bracelet company, they make really inexpensive $15 bangles. that girls can stack up on their wrists. But rather than just making these beautiful bracelets, which would have been popular, which would have been fun, they have told all their staff to literally infuse love into the workplace. And people speak from the onset of love. And so love is literally oozing out of this building. And they were one of the fastest growing companies. Their brand is taking over the world. And it's beautiful to be able to see. And it's the message that is so much more encouraging. So now when people wear it, that represents love to them. Not only do they benefit from the benefits of feeling the love from having it, but also being able to say, this is what I stand for, this is what I believe in. And so, yes, many companies are starting to do that. I don't think it's happening fast enough, but I'm excited to see that it is happening. And when it happens, every single time we see a difference. We see, the overall happiness in the workplace increases, and we obviously see the productivity goes up, quality of life of people that are working there, but then also just passion. Passion becomes contagious, and people start becoming passionate about what they do, about each other. And it really is, it's a magnetic environment to be in, and it's contagious. So
and it's a beautiful balance. I'm sorry. It's a beautiful balance as well. We've spent so much time at work and careers, and to be able to bring that all together, I think is beautiful. Now, did you know that Alex and Ani, the owner's name is Carolyn, and she lives right near me? They're in my back.
Oh, I did not know you. That is fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah. It's amazing. And I'm living in Rhode Island. I was born in Rhode Island, and we've watched it. It's amazing what she's done. And those are exactly the reasons. I agree with you 100%. It's the infusion of how she's done it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. So Rudi, how did you get on this path? Because I know your background is business, and you've done all kinds of wonderful things and had multiple companies, but way to go on the spirituality side. How did that all happen?
So I think it's important for me to highlight, and you know this better than anyone, but I don't think I necessarily chose this path. This path was chosen for me long before I knew or had what I wanted to be doing. To really explain to you my history, I came from a family that very much lived in a lack environment. And so we, from a very young age, were aware of what we didn't have or why we couldn't have things or why other people had things. And so I grew up in a small town in South Africa, and there was a very big difference in the different class groups, if you will, of lower income, middle class, and then the wealthy. And we grew up in the lower end of that spectrum. I have to stress, I always had food, I always had clothes, but we were very much a live in the lack mentality family. And so that was something that my brothers and I were very aware of from a very young age. And my mother was and still is a deeply spiritual person. And so we would always have these conversations about metaphysical topics. It would be anything from karma, to past life regressions. And it was just such a wonderful environment to be born into. Mm-hmm. So I had a very strong sense of self from a spiritual perspective, but then I was also very aware of the lack of abundance in my life and what I wanted to achieve and to be successful. Now, as I would imagine so many people that I come into contact with on a day-to-day basis, don't feel that those two worlds fit together. My father said to me when I was a child once that he was not a deeply spiritual person because he didn't feel that anyone that lived a spiritual life or praised God had money or was successful. And through examples that he had as a child growing up, wealthy people weren't, religious or spiritual, and people that had absolutely nothing were, praying and always grateful for having nothing. And so for him, it was an interesting perspective. And so as a child, obviously that was something that I remember as a vivid memory as if it happened to me yesterday. So growing up, I always wanted to be successful. And I had this internal battle of wanting to be my spiritual self, where I've always felt a calling to make a difference in the world and empower people. And I was the guy in this field that would pick somebody up that got bullied, or, stand up for a girl in school that was being picked on. And so I always felt this need of nurturing, protecting, and empowering, but I didn't necessarily know and or understand. And I have to preface, I probably also didn't have the self-confidence to be able to live the spiritual and, if you will now, the business side of myself. The reason why I'm explaining it from my childhood is I believe a lot of the issues that we have in our adult lives come very much rooted from the way we were raised or brought up with the environment that we found ourselves in. And I was born and raised into the perfect environment to bring me to where I am today, because as I sat there learning that there was the spiritual side of me that almost felt like I live in a Harry Potter world, and then there was the side of me that yearned to be successful and to be a businessman and to never have lack. I'll share another memory with you. I must have been about, I want to say 9 or 10 or 12 years old. And I remember our teacher came into the classroom and asked all of us what we wanted to be when we grew up and what were our aspirations and to set goals. It was the first time I'd heard someone really talk about something like that. And when they got to me in the classroom, and I was probably about 10th or 12th down the list, and she said, Rudi, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I stood up and I said, I want to be a millionaire by the age of 25. I remember the entire room laughed, and they thought that was the most ridiculous thing they'd ever heard. And inside me, that solidified that goal of what I wanted to do and achieve. And so for the rest of my life, when people met me, that's what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. And so I just moved in that direction. Fast forward many years, I went into the business world, started multiple companies and businesses and startups. And, I think the definition of success is different based on the person that you're talking to. But based on my standards, I've reached certain levels of success. But what I was never able to do was marry those two worlds together. And I still carried the belief that in business, you need to be very business-like. But when I left my work environment, I was very spiritual. And so my wife and I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and we meditate and, we'll channel or write or journal. And so we are deeply spiritual. And when I walk into work, I'm all clockwork and it's going through the motions. And a few years ago, I had a really bad experience in one of my businesses. I was deeply miserable, a very toxic environment, and I was forced to go inward in my work environment. And it was that time when all of a sudden I started to realize that I needed to be spiritual in my workplace, and I needed to be true to who I am and what my beliefs are, and not have these two faces or these two shadows. And the results that started to transpire around me were mind-blowing. I have a third memory for you that'll put the final cherry on my story. And I must have been about 15 or 16 years old. And one of the parents that their students went to the school I went to came, and he was a motivational business speaker of sorts, or just a motivational speaker. And he had come to our school and done a 2-hour motivational speech in front of the entire assembly. And then afterwards offered a private 2-week course or 10-week course, I forget now the number of weeks we did, where we then would meet with him. But I remember that moment he took that stage and how he spoke to everyone. I had these goosebumps go up my entire body. I can't believe. And I remember just sitting there thinking, that is what I want to do. And so it wasn't about, I want to be successful and make money. I was like, that's it. I want to do just that. Yeah. And so obviously over time, and surprisingly enough, I was probably only one of about 5 kids that signed up for his extra 10 or 12-week course, which to me was crazy because of what he was offering. But regardless, that was the moment I knew what I wanted to do with my life. The insecurity side of me said that I needed a story and that I don't have a story. And who's going to listen to me? What businessman's going to want to hear from me if I've never been in business? Or what child is going to look up to me for guidance? Or what kind of motivation can I offer anyone if I haven't first gone out and been successful? And so I went out and tried to dominate the business world. And it was when I married my wife, Aniston, who really kind of leveled my shoulders and made me realize that I already am everything that I need to be, and that there's nothing lacking within me. And that if I just looked around me, I was already inspiring and empowering people within my own organizations. And so it really led me to this path. I eventually left my business, still own it, but I left the day-to-day so that I could move to the beach and I could get a little fishing boat and I could write a book and I could work on being more of my just spiritual self, thinking I needed to separate the two so I could focus on not being in business and focus on just doing this side of it. And I ended up getting brought right back into the corporate environment and working for one of the largest corporations in North America. And so, it's funny, like I said in the very beginning, I felt like I had a journey, but there's a much larger journey that's at play, and I'm right where I need to be, which is a very big part of my message. Believing that everything you're doing today is leading you to where you're going. And so now I've kind of, through trial and error and trying to stubbornly move down my direction, been brought to realize that, you know, it is really important that you are true to who you are and that you bring that to everything that you do, whether that be your marriage, your family, your friendships, but in your workplace. And we work for, you know, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. And to not be who you are is to not live your life to the fullest potential. And so that's really, in a very long roundabout way, how I got to where I am today, and what I try and help people from getting to learn or benefit from my mistakes of not having to go through it the long way.
And what a wonderful thing to be able to know. Like I say, once you know this, you don't unknow it. You just keep going. So kudos to you for doing what you've done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I know you and I are going to talk a little bit about on another session, but is there anything else you'd like to share at this point?
I'm just really thrilled and excited, obviously, to be on this platform and to get to reach a whole new audience. I absolutely love what I do. I love the benefits that I get to see. And I just encourage that if anybody is hearing a message or seeing a message on this entire platform that they like, that they should jump at it, because I believe that you're always hearing the right message at the right time for you. And if you're hearing this, if you're watching it, if you're clicking on it, if you're being nudged or called to do something, that there's a reason, and follow through with that action, because we all have this incredible innate ability to be, to have, to do, to achieve, and the universe is kind of trying to nudge us in that direction. And so to anyone watching, I welcome you, I thank you, and I congratulate you on taking the first steps in your newfound path.
Oh, beautifully said. Thank you, Rudi.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.